Hi everyone, I just started my YouTube channel. I'm Heather from Moonrise Eyes Tarot, and I just thought I would film a quick sort of get to know me introduction kind of video. Just kind of get it out of the way. I'm really nervous about starting a channel, nervous about being on camera, but I kind of wanted to at least have my face in one of these. Probably most of them will be from a top-down look so that you can get a better look at the cards instead of this situation. So, to get started, I thought I would talk about some of the decks that have been really meaningful to my tarot journey. So I've been reading tarot for about 7 years now. So I think I'll start with two decks that are more of a very traditional style. So even before the RWS was the Marseille. So the first tarot deck that I got before I actually even really knew what tarot was, I'd had a couple readings done for me, but I didn't really know much about it. And I picked up a deck that I like to keep in this little box because it came without a box. It was just at a craft fair on a table, just in this little bag here. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but now I know it's a 1JJ Swiss, probably from the 70s. And I adore this deck. I ended up learning on RWS systems, but I did come back around to this deck once I was ready to learn Marseille, and I was really glad that I had this because it just has this wonderful sort of wear to it. It shuffles so nicely. I love this old cardstock. It's very soft, it's bendy and snappy, and the size is amazing. I have fairly small hands, so I really like a bit of a smaller deck. I could shuffle this for hours and be fine. And shuffling is a really important thing to me. I really like to have a good shuffle before I actually pull any cards, and being able to riffle shuffle it, riffle and bridge, is something that I really value with the tarot deck. So this has some of the most beautiful pip cards. I just love them. And of course, the majors are beautifully illustrated. I just really enjoy looking at these sort of historical type of images. I do have a degree in history and medieval studies, not that I actually use it in my career, but it really is nice when I can kind of tickle that little fancy, get things that look a little older, a little historical. So I've gone down quite a rabbit hole in learning about the history of tarot. That really fascinates me. And just how it's evolved over the centuries, and just looking at different kinds of decks that were produced. So anyways, that is the 1JJ Swiss. It's a pretty iconic deck for its era, especially for a Marseille deck, which is a bit less of a saturated market than the RWS. I do love both systems, but yeah, I've been really getting into Marseille lately. So speaking of Marseille, the other one I wanted to share is this Tarot Classic. I got this year, and I am really enjoying it. It has really yummy cardstock. It's just kind of like a soft, almost waxy feel to it, but in a really pleasant way. And again, it's a really great size. It's got plaid backs again. I do love a plaid back. Again, just so snappy. I mean, this is an old deck and it has zero bow to it. In really good condition. It's held up so well over the years. And again, this has gorgeous illustrations, a really nice arrangement of pip cards. And I really enjoy the colors in this one. I don't always like the more traditional or primary color Marseilles, but for some reason, this kind of yellowy, bluey, I guess this is still primary colors, but they're done in a different way. And the illustration, the way that it's colored in is quite soft. It looks like it maybe was done with colored pencil or something like that. So this has been really nice to use. Again, amazing shuffle, lovely old style artwork, and really nice color combo. So those are the two Marseille decks that I wanted to share. And then when it comes to just like a kind of everyday, just want to do a quick reading and really get the message and go on with my day, I've got a couple here that are like my real go-tos. So I've been absolutely in love with Peculiar Pathways. I used it every day since I got it up until the weather really turned into, we'll call it torrential rains. I live on the west coast of Canada and yeah, we get a lot of rain, but this is so good for spring and summer, early fall. It's just, anyway, so this is an indie deck. The last two, the Classic Tarot is out of print, but was mass market, and usually it's not too pricey in the secondhand market. And the 1JJ Swiss, I think they're still printing those. So I think you can still get that mass market. This one is indie. This is from Lennox Reese. I love Lennox's decks. They are so well put together. So much thought was put into them. I think Lennox has a channel here on YouTube, so I will link that down below in the description. Definitely go check her out if you're interested. And I just love the way she puts together a deck. So this is an amazing box. I love this type of box because it sits really nice on the shelf. It keeps the cards well protected. It's nice and sturdy, magnetic closure. Anyways, this isn't about the box. This is about the cards. And yeah, just absolutely gorgeous cards. This is on a matte linen cardstock. I think it might be black core, which means that it has a really good bend and snap. Again, absolutely amazing to shuffle. And it has this pretty green edging. And the illustrations are to die for. The beautiful landscape paintings in the background mixed with these black and white sort of etching style or engraving style items in the foreground are really just so striking. And then with a couple of added collage elements around the corners. And each card is just so easy to read. You put these down and you could get the message absolutely just right off the bat. The way that it really focuses on a specific aspect of each card, I find is quite helpful when you want a really clear reading. You know, you don't want to maybe delve into all of these different associations. Certainly the symbolism is there, but you don't feel like you have to really go super, super deep. If you're just doing, you know, a really practical reading, it can handle that. But if you also want to do something that's a bit more in depth, then it certainly can do that as well. And it's just, oh, it's a pleasure to look at. So yeah, I think this one is definitely my favorite new deck, a deck that was released in 2025. It was released in 2025, right? I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, definitely favorite new release. I've just been enjoying it so much. It has kind of almost a papery feel to it, but in the best kind of way. I don't know how better to describe that, but just the tactile feel of it is so enjoyable. And the more time goes on, the more I find that the tactile part of tarot is incredibly important to me. If I can't comfortably shuffle a deck, if it doesn't feel good on my fingers, a lot of times it's just kind of gonna sit on the shelf, even if it has gorgeous artwork, even if it's really well thought out. It's just, you know, it's a tool that I want to be able to use, and I want to be able to use it comfortably without hurting my hands. So another tried and true go-to, Morgan Greer. I've got the little tin one, which I think is kind of, I think it's the more popular version of it. You can get a full size, but the tin is just so nice, and I do love that particular card size. It's just so easy for me to handle. And Morgan Greer is one of those decks that, again, kind of comes out of the 70s, or at least, not sure if it's exactly from the 70s, but it certainly has a 70s look to it. You know, there's a lot of mustaches and hairstyles that sort of really remind me of that era. So it kind of reminds me of some of the old storybooks that my mom used to read to me when I was little. A lot of those were quite old. And this is one where, again, it's just really straightforward. It's basically RWS copied, except, you know, there's some zooming in happening. So instead of, you know, the full figure, you've got just the top half here. And most of the cards are like that. Not Temperance, but a lot of the cards. And this is actually the deck that I used to do a reading right before I went to go meet my now fiance. We met long distance, and we were talking for a long time one-on-one, catching feelings, having video dates every night, but you know, we hadn't met in person, so we didn't want to declare it official or anything like that. So when I finally went to go see him in person, I was so nervous. So when I was at the airport for my last leg, I pulled out the Morgan Greer, which I'd actually just bought in Toronto during a stop over there, and did a little reading. And it was very reassuring. And yeah, so far it's been great. Obviously, we're engaged. Very, very excited. So Morgan Greer also has a little bit of a special place in my heart because of that. All right, let's put her away, and then we'll grab my last go-to deck for sort of a quick and dirty reading. And that one was a big surprise to me because I got the tin version first and it wasn't really clicking. And then I saw the full-size version in a secondhand shop for, I think it was 20 bucks Canadian. So I decided to give it a try. And it's the Wild Unknown Tarot. And yeah, as soon as I started using this full-size one, it clicked. It was talking to me. It made sense. This cardstock is fabulous. It feels really good. It's different from any other cardstock I've used. It's almost got It's a bit of a waxy feel, sort of similar to the classic tarot, but less, slightly more textured. I don't think that really makes any sense, but it's really hard to describe these kinds of things. I think I've heard that the cardstock they use now for the newer editions isn't as good, but yeah, I love shuffling this deck, and I love the simplicity of it, especially in the colder months. It feels very pared back, very late fall, winter. I love that it's animals and nature. I love animals and nature, especially because I struggle with some, self-esteem issues, and having really people-y decks can sometimes trigger that. Especially with the more modern ones. I really struggle with modern people-y decks. So something like this is really good for just focusing on the issues that I want to focus on at the time and not have all that other stuff kind of come up. Obviously that's something that I do use tarot to go into and work on, but you don't want it every time you're doing a reading. If I want to do a reading about what's my day going to be like today, I don't necessarily want to be delving into all that. So this one, especially also if I'm going to be reading for someone else, which I don't do very often. I think I might start getting into that, but for the most part, I've just been reading for myself and maybe occasionally a family member. But this is something that I would really consider as very helpful to use for other people, because it does have a very neutral energy to me, and it would be really easy for me to kind of have that step of removal where I'm not kind of dealing with my own stuff and I can focus on what we're asking about the other person. And it just has such appealing artwork to me. I know it's very polarizing in the community, especially because it got super hyped when it first came out, if I understand correctly. And then because, of course, there's always a backlash when things get really popular, especially if it's something that's really not for everyone, right? So then there was, a bit of people aren't really into it anymore. And I got into it way after all of that. So luckily I didn't have to have that extra kind of potential baggage there. I just get to enjoy it for what it is, which is a really crisp, clear reader, especially if I want to get away from some of the rote RWS meetings. This, I feel it has kind of that pip energy to the minors, which lets me have a little bit more freedom in how I'm interpreting them, especially, given its position in a spread or just what the issue is at hand. So that is the Wild Unknown Tarot. And next we're going to go, I think I'm going to go for decks that feel kind of sacred to me. So there is Spirit Keeper's Tarot. This one is indie. Oh, sorry. Wild Unknown was mass market. And the Morgan Greer is also mass market. This one, indie, it's out of print now. I was really, really lucky in that I really got into kind of collecting tarot decks, not just reading, but also collecting around when this was released, like right before the release. And so I was able to get in on it at the time because, oh boy, this deck is so special to me. It's just filled with so much meaning. And I have read the entire giant book that you can get, and I've got the workbook as well that I've been going through. Although I will say the little white book that comes with the deck is fantastic. You know, you don't have to get the big book. I'm just a nerd and I love big books and I cannot lie. So I really enjoyed reading that cover to cover, even though it's like 900 pages or something crazy. And it was anointed with this wonderful scent, and given the Order of the Shamans. But yeah, this deck, look how dense the artwork is. Benabel Wen is an absolute font of knowledge. Her holistic tarot book was the first one that I really fully delved into and really got deep into tarot with. And she just has so much knowledge and is so good at sharing it and including it in the deck. Just, I love this artwork. I love the way that she's incorporated all the different correspondences. So this is kind of the opposite to the ones I was looking at just a moment ago, where instead of, you know, wanting something that's kind of pared back, very clear, succinct, this one is when you want to really delve into the meat. This is when you're like, I want all the correspondences. I want all the esotericism. I just want to get right into it. This is oh my God, so good for that. And I love all the historical references in it, the different deities, mythology. It's just delightful. And the gilding, I find that gilding can quite easily go wrong. It can be very scratchy and unpleasant on the hands, even though it looks pretty. Gilding a lot of times can also chip. This has held up beautifully. Like, I've used this deck a lot and this is still in pristine condition. And the noise that it makes when you have the cards go against each other, something about that is really satisfying to me. This is a very different kind of shuffle from some of the other ones I was talking about, but it's still a really good shuffle. You know, it's a little bit more stiff, but it's stiff in a way where it just feels sturdy and not like it doesn't want to shuffle. So I can still beautifully riffle shuffle this. And I'm a little bit more delicate with it than some of the other decks because it is now out of print and because it does feel very sacred to me. So I treat it with a lot of extra care because it feels like, I don't know, it feels like it needs it and it deserves it and it wants it. Yes, I'm starting to personify decks, but I'll personify anything if I'm honest. I used to feel bad if I might hurt my stuffed animals' feelings by, you know, not playing with them often enough. So if that tells you anything. Then I have two sister decks that are by Kara Small. She is an indie deck creator. I believe she sells these on Etsy, and I adore them. They are each dedicated to a Greek goddess. So one is Persephone. This is the Chthonic edition, the first edition of the Chthonic edition. And then this is Tarot of the Huntress, first edition. I think it has different backs now. So let's start with the Tarot of Persephone's Garden, Chthonian edition. I think the version that's available right now has burgundy borders on it, but this one is the borderless version. And they were a bit pricey for me, especially with shipping to Canada. Unfortunately, a lot of indie decks do end up quite pricey, but I think these ones were a little tiny bit more than I usually pay. But boy, are they worth it. So these are curated art decks, and they are on my favorite cardstock of all time. This is a linen black core, perfectly cut, like so smooth cardstock. Love the card backs. And I also bought some scented ointment from her store as well that I've been slowly applying to the cards just a little tiny bit to give them a really nice scent, because she has scents that are themed on the goddesses. So I got one for Persephone and one for Artemis. And I love, love, love using these. So the Persephone one I tend to use fall and spring, which kind of, you know, it makes sense. Persephone is the goddess of spring, and in the fall, she, you know, descends down to spend time with her husband Hades. And these are all such a well curated images, really good quality. I know a lot of times it can be difficult, and images can be kind of fuzzy because they aren't in high enough quality in the scans, but these are just amazing. I really enjoy using this. I mean, just look at that. I love, you know, old style artwork. And these all flow together really well. You know, sometimes if you're choosing art from different famous artists, they don't always have the same style, but this deck is very cohesive, and it's really hard to say exactly why, but it does feel very sacred. And so it's quite special to me. And then her sister is the Artemis deck, so Tarot of the Huntress. And this one I tend to associate with summer and with winter. I think it's all the green. So winter to me, being in Canada, we have a lot of evergreens, especially in the West Coast. So to me, winter is kind of green, oddly enough. It's not green in the same way that summer is green, where everything is flowering and in bloom, and all the trees have all their leaves. But winter, I associate it with pine trees, Christmas, which, you know, green is one of the Christmas colors. So this one is, sometimes it shows up like it's black on camera, but this is a really dark green. Beautiful in person, and the backs are the same dark green, and I really, really like these backs. I'm glad I got the first edition because I don't like the second edition backs as much. Just personal preference. Really love these. And again, it's the same cardstock, and it's the same approach where it's a lot of it's curated art, and it's all in the theme of Artemis and some of the, you know, gods and goddesses that are adjacent to Artemis. And there's a bit of moon imagery, there's hunting imagery, you know, things related to her. And again, it's just a really beautiful, beautifully done deck. And it actually, if you wanted to, it would pair really well with the Persephone deck, because they have the same font, the same size borders, the colors go well, and of course the art goes well as, you know. But because I have this strong association with the different seasons for them, I don't really pair them. So this is Tarot of the Huntress. And I am eagerly waiting to see if this deck creator, if she makes more decks, because I just love what she's done so far, and I really hope that there's more to come. All right, next I'm going to move on to cats. I love cats. And I love cat decks. I know some people are, how many cat decks do you need? Basically, I want any cat deck I see. Not every cat deck, but every cat deck that has an art style that I like. So this is another kind of go-to, but when I want something a little offbeat, Tarot of the Cat People. This is another older deck, and it has a whole sort of world building aspect to it. So the creator really thought out this whole world where people are really strongly connected to the cats of the land, and there's different kinds of cats, and there's different lands that have different aspects to them, and they're associated with the different suits. It's really, really interesting, and the art style as well is really interesting. I don't think I've really seen much in this art style before, and I'll be honest, at first, when I very first saw this deck, I was kind of put off by it, just because the art style is really out there, and the way the people look is really unusual. They have very unusual fashion, but the more I looked at it, the more I fell in love with it, and now it feels like just this delightful trip into another world where they love cats as much as I do, and where cats are an important part of the culture. So I've had a lot of fun with this deck, and it's also on that old style Lo Scarabeo cardstock, which I love. I love old cardstock because it shuffles well. It holds up, it shuffles. I could go on a whole cardstock rant. A lot of the newer decks, and a lot of indie decks, they'll use cardstock that is so thick and so stiff that it's really hard to shuffle. And like I said, if I can't shuffle a deck comfortably, I'm just not going to pick it up. Oh, and I love the backs. They're so cute. So that's Tarot of the Cat People. Then we have the Mini Cat Tarot. This is an indie deck sold on Etsy, and it is adorable. It was pricey. I ended up getting a version that was on discount. I think it was one of those, bumped box kind of deals. But it is so stinking cute that I could not resist. I mean, just look at these little guys. It's a really great deck for when you don't want to be too serious, but you still want the deck to have some of the traditional symbolism. So it's very RWS, but done in this really cute pared back style. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the little square deck that used to be everywhere. I think it's called the Tarot Nova, or at least that's what people tend to call it, because it didn't have a really obvious title on the front. But it has like a square shape, and it's got black backgrounds and really cute little simple illustrations. But I mean, just look at these cute little kitties. I just love them. Their little faces. It has just the symbols that you need. No more, no less. Just exactly what you need. And it shuffles great. And there's the cute little backs. So that is the Mini Cat Tarot. And then the next Cat Tarot deck that I'm going to show. It's by no means, this is by no means all my cat decks. I did actually film a video that I haven't uploaded where I go through all my cat decks. I probably will upload that. I've been hanging on to it just because I've been really nervous about the whole starting a YouTube channel thing, but I really do need to just pull the trigger, go for it. So, oh yes, this has a really nice box as well. This is another one of those magnetic closure deals, like so. And it has a really fun pattern in the box. The Weird Cat Tarot. And they are weird. It almost feels kind of early 90s in the bright colors. Got the bright hot pink edging. The cardstock actually feels quite similar to the Spirit Keeper's Tarot. So it's a really nice luxe cardstock. And we have all of these weird little cats doing weird little things in a tarot deck. It's just a silly little deck. And I just love it. I feel like you really get a good sense of personality from each of these cats. Just the way that the expressions are drawn. It just has very cat energy to it. I mean, look, he's on a little beetle. It's so cute. So that's the Weird Cat Tarot. I think I'll transition into cat oracle decks. So I have the Spirit Cats and the Witch Cats. These are by Nicole Piar, P-I-A-R. And she just has these beautiful, beautiful illustrations of cats. And I use Spirit Cats in spring and summer and Witch Cats in fall and winter. And I'll show you some of the cards here. So these are basically little cat friends that you can pull. And each card has beautiful watercolor painting of a cat. And then the back has a keyword, and then you get the name of the cat and a write-up telling you what this card kind of symbolizes and what you can think about. So maybe I'll read one out. So this is Purification, and it says, "Meet Calico, the maven of purification. She shows up in our life when it is time to let go of everything that no longer serves us. Long ago, she used to be a sad little kitty and believed that was just who she was. When she realized that sadness was not her at all, but a heavy cloak she had been wearing for much too long, she let the cloak drop off her shoulders and felt as light as air. Now she is simply pure being. What old beliefs, stagnant energy, or unhealthy habits can you toss to the wind in order to set yourself free?" And I love the way she draws cats. They always look almost like fae cats. You know, they're not quite real cats. They're more like spirit cats. Hence the name of the deck. It's late and I'm not smart. But anyways, look at these little spirit cats. They're just so beautiful and precious, and sometimes they have just the message that you need at the time. So this one is Spirit Cats, and then I'll show you a few from the Witch Cats. These ones are the Witch Cats, and so they have a different font and little decoration on the back, but you still get the write-up, the name of the cat, and the keyword or key phrase. And it's just so nice. Sometimes you just want to pull a little kitty and see what the little kitty has to say. So this is the Witch Cat. Last cat oracle deck I'm going to show is Affirmations of the Fairy Cats. My mom actually bought this for me for my birthday a couple years ago, and it is so sweet. This is a mass market. The spirit cats and witch cats are indie. A nice guidebook with it, actually, that provides some prompts, some things to think about, things to journal, things to do, which is really helpful. And each of these cards has a keyword, and there's a little fairy cat. And there's also a key tied to these symbols, so their cards are in different suits. And so each of the suits has kind of a different overarching theme. And here you can see the illustrations are gentle and soft and sweet. You know, this is something it's really nice to go to when you need that energy, or if you just want like to pull a little fairy cat to kind of give you a jumping off point for journaling, or maybe just focusing on something in particular. Sometimes I'll pull a card just to kind of keep at my work desk. I work from home, so I'll just pop up a little card there and look at it throughout the day. It's quite nice. It's like having a little friend there. So that is Affirmations of the Fairy Cats. Again, this is that kind of old style cardstock, so great. All right, and my last section is favorite oracle decks that are not cat oracle decks. So a really handy little one is this Coastal Curiosities. It's the same creator as the Peculiar Pathways, Lennox Reese. So again, this is indie. This is the pocket size, which I really like, and it's the previous version that came with different colors. There's a new version now, I think it's called the Naturalist Edition, that has a more muted colorway. But I really enjoy these. It pairs really well with a bunch of different decks. It's really well illustrated. Sometimes I have to think a bit harder on how the keyword and all of the elements on the card fit together, but it does always make sense. Just sometimes it tickles your brain a little bit and you gotta think about it. And I really enjoy this vintage aesthetic. It's just really pretty and calming. And lots of beautiful colors. And again, we've got that background color with a foreground image in black and white that I really enjoyed from the Peculiar Pathways. So of course they pair together perfectly, but I can also pair it really easily with a lot of other things. And those are the backs there. That's the Coastal Curiosities. And then this is in a bag by Christa from Christa Chronicles. She's one of the tarot tubers that I really enjoy. I have ADHD, and I find that her videos talking about tarot and ADHD are so helpful and relatable, and I also just like a lot of the same decks that she likes. Anyways, so she makes these really nice crocheted bags, and this one in particular is holding my Hellenic Oracle, which is made by another tarot tuber that I greatly enjoy. It's Thea at Garden Goddess Tarot, and these are the lovely backs. This is a Make Playing Cards deck, so you have to get it from Make Playing Cards. And this is all Greek deities. And it's chunky. There's a lot of cards because she wanted to cover all of the Greek deities, not just the most popular ones, but also, you know, like the Titans and some of the ones that are more, not necessarily deities, but monsters and people of legend. So I don't know why I've got it half upside down. I don't shuffle reversals into this. So that's weird, but I really enjoy the artwork that she's chosen for this. I like that you've got the Greek spelling there as well as the English version of the name. And there is no guidebook with this. I think that she said, you know, it makes more sense for people to have their own relationships and associations with the figures in these cards. So I've actually been slowly creating my own book of, you know, personal knowledge that I've gotten from different sources and, you know, pertinent things about each card. But this has been so versatile because there's a lot of different things that you can go into with it. You can look into the stories that deity is featured in. You can look at what their traditional associations are, and you can look at the artwork. And I found that it can function really well, not just on a sort of broader psychological level, but occasionally in a divinatory level as well, which I don't usually do a lot of, you know, super divinatory work. Most of it is a little bit more like introspection and psychological things, but sometimes it'll just do something like it'll throw in the thunder and lightning card, and then later on thunder and lightning happens. So that's the Hellenic Oracle by Thea. And the make playing cards at linen cardstock is quite nice. It does wear, so it's not super durable, but the shuffle is amazing, and sometimes the wear is actually kind of aesthetic, so I like it. Speaking of Christa Chronicles, this one I put in the Spirit Cats bag because I don't have another bag that's the right size, and it's a really nice bag. But this is the Divine Ephemera Oracle. It's beautiful, beautiful backs there. So Christa created this deck with, I think it's 60 different gods and goddesses, and then they're each paired with a plant. So she's collaged together, you know, the deity, the plant, and a beautiful background that's kind of related to the vibes. And so you get the name of the god or goddess and then the name of the plant. And I really enjoy this kind of very restrained collage. I tend to get overwhelmed with the collage styles where there's a lot of stuff on the card. I know that works really well for a lot of people, but just for my particular brain, it doesn't seem to work very well. I just get too distracted and overwhelmed. So I really like having, you know, you've got three main elements. You've got your plant, deity, background. And it's so beautifully put together, like just from a design standpoint. And you really get sort of the sense of the card, you know, just looking at the images, even if you didn't know anything about the plant or the deity. In a lot of cases, you know, I don't know a lot of plant lore. I would like to learn more, but it just haven't had the time to dedicate to that quite yet. I always have about a million different interests, and I'm always trying to find time to fit them all in. But it has a nice little guidebook that you can get that just has a little tiny bit about the god or goddess and a little tiny bit about the plant. And then there's extra room in there so you can actually add more as you kind of find what speaks to you about the deity or the plant. Anyways, this is Divine Ephemera. This is also from Make Playing Cards by Christa from Christa Chronicles. And the last one I'm going to talk about today. We finally made it to the end. It's been nearly an hour of filming. It is Memento Mori. So this is by Claire Goodchild. It's another indie deck. I really, really love her art style. She also does the Antique Anatomy Tarot, which is available mass market. I'm not a massive fan of the cardstock, which is why it's not one of my favorites. But I do really like that deck. It's just, I would use it more often if the cardstock was a little better. It's mostly, it has kind of an uneven cut, so it hurts my hands. But anyways, this cardstock is delicious. It's different, again, from anything else that I have, but it shuffles so well, even though this is just a massive deck. There are so many cards. This isn't even with all the expansions. I think I got one expansion, the general expansion, and then maybe a couple of Patreon cards. But this is a deck that is so useful to just pull a couple cards and read it sort of like a sentence. So each card is an object. There's also a Lenormand sort of baked into this. So the first 35 cards, or however big a Lenormand is, are Lenormand cards, but slightly tweaked to fit the Memento Mori theme. And yeah, everything is an object. And I've actually made my own little guidebook for this. It does come with a little book that just provides a little tiny bit of info for each card. But I wanted to add my own associations. So I've got a little book that I just wrote in and put down meanings for me for all the cards. And it matches a lot of different decks if you want to pair it with something, but I'll use it by itself. Just to pull a few cards and see what it has to say. I really love this style of sort of the antique parchment background with some black and white imagery, a couple pops of color, some plants. Just, it's an aesthetic that I really like. I have pre-ordered the reprinting of Oracle of Oddities. That one, I didn't get a chance to get it when it was originally in stock, so now I'm really excited to get the new version. And that one is more like a lot of other Oracle decks where you've got kind of like a keyword, whereas these are strictly objects. So I don't think they'll really compete with each other because they'll do different jobs. But again, it'll have a similar aesthetic. And these backs are so good. It's got sort of like a faux distressing there, and yeah, cardstock. So good. It just makes it a joy to handle. Okay, oh my goodness. So those are some of my key decks in my practice. I have loads more because I love to collect things, and I'm passionate about tarot and oracle, and so I just love to collect them. So I'm hoping on this channel over time I can share more with you. I can share more about my practice. And yeah, hopefully I can become a part of this wonderful community. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Two more. This is an itty bitty version of the Unicorn's Journey Tarot from another tarot tuber, Lisa Papez. She's one that I've been following for quite a few years now, and I did her Tarot with Training Wheels video series. I went through it, and that really helped me really get to know the RWS system really well. And I actually got to meet her in person at a witch's flea market in the Lower Mainland near Vancouver. I actually used to live in Vancouver, so I used to be near there. But alas, now I live on Vancouver Island. I love it here, but anyways, makes it harder to go to the witch's flea market. So this is the Unicorn's Journey Tarot. This is the little baby version. It's got a magnetic closure box. She also is a big nerd on cardstock, so cardstock is absolutely primo. There's even like hollow foiling on the back there, and there's beautiful pink edging, and I mean, to get that on a mini deck, crazy. So this just follows the journey of little unicorn named Mystic, learning that they are a unicorn and learning about life. And there's just some really great self-worth work that you can do with this. And the storybook illustration style, I really enjoy. I like having this little one. Could make bigger spreads out of it, and it just seems kind of like cute and appropriate for little Mystic. Although I am not discounting possibly getting the larger version at some point. I do also have the other deck that she did with her wife, the Sassy Dragons Tarot. I really like that one too, but this one is just so meaningful, and it's just really comforting and supportive, just like Lisa seems to be in the tarot world. So, Unicorn's Journey Tarot. And the one other one that I forgot is one that I basically use every day. It's just so versatile, and just the aesthetic works for it. And I've got it in this little bag that my fiance's mother made. She made me a couple little tarot bags, and they're so delightful. She's so nice. I love her. So in here we have another deck by Christa from Christa Chronicles, and this is the Cottage Witch Oracle. So usually what I do is throughout the seasons I go and I choose which cards kind of match the season. So each of these is an object or an animal, a plant. So I go through and choose which ones are good for the season, and then I like to just do a daily card pull with them. And there's a lovely little guidebook for this, but you don't even really need a guidebook, because each of these I feel like is really kind of clear. You get the object, but the animal, plant, etc., but you also get a keyword, which is always a really nice expansive keyword that you can do a lot with. So this just has all of the cozy vibes, and it matches every season depending on which cards you put into it. It has quite a few expansion packs. I was able to get most of them, but I think there's a cut flowers one that was released fairly recently, but nowadays with how expensive shipping is and with tariffs and etc. Just not super feasible for me right now. But I find that the ones that I have are more than enough, and I love the little backs and sort of the antique-y look to it. And again, it's rooted in the natural world, which I really enjoy. And a lot of them are animals and plants that I can kind of see around. Then some of them are just cozy things around the home. There's a cottage, there's coffee, things that it's really easy for me to kind of have associations with. And yeah, and it's another make playing cards one. So same card stock. That is the Cottage Witch Oracle. Okay, now hopefully this video is done. I guess I should say YouTube things like and subscribe if you feel like you want to do that. And I'll see you in the next one, this time for real.